freedom in mind, faith in words, pride in our heart, memories in our souls. Let's salute our nation on 72nd Republic Day. It's 26th January today, the historical day to remember our national heroes and freedom fighters who suffered to give us a republic nation. Let me start by wishing you all a happy Republic Day. To mark a start for our Republic Day celebration, let me invite Harinandana for prayer.
Namaskar. ध्यायामो धवलावगुण्ठनवती तेजोमयीं नैष्टिः स्निग्धापाङ्गविलोकिनी भगवती मन्दस्मितश्रीमुखी वात्सल्यामृतवर्षिणी सुमधुरं सङ्कीर्तनालापिनी श्यामाङ्गी मधुसिक्तसूक्तिम् अमृतानन्दात्मिका ईश्वरी ॐ अमृतेश्वर्यै नमः ॐ अमृतेश्वर्यै नमः ॐ अमृतेश्वर्यै नमः
A day to remember the golden heritage of our country and feel proud to be a part of India. Today, we all are gathered here to celebrate 72nd Republic Day program by Ayuth Amritapuri, an Indian kaleidoscope. Like a kaleidoscope, our India is colorful with its rich heritage and culture. A reviving experience from each corner portraying vivid stories. To make our Republic Day program more pensive, we have many honorable speakers with us to present compendium on various Indian heritages. So, without much delay, let us get into our talk. Firstly, we have Sri Sumesh KP to talk about ancient Indian contribution in healthcare. He has a keen interest in spreading Indian culture and tradition. He conducts classes in personality development, Indic studies through Sadgamaya in school for the last 6 years, which covered over more than 100 schools in South India. Welcome, sir.
Namaskar. Thanks, Adira. I'm discussing relating to the India's contributions on the healthcare. So it is, that is relating to the Ayurveda. The history of Ayurveda, when it is starting from nearly 7,000 years or 9,000 years before. Actually, it is starting from 7,000 BCE. So what it is actually, it is even in Rigveda, it is explaining relating to the Ayurveda. So if we are discussing about the Ayurveda, the main two personalities what we are discussing is Charaka and is Susruta. And I'm most relating to the Susruta because few things we supposed to understand from that one. The Susruta, his one of his book that is known as the Susruta Samhita. Most part of the Susruta Samhita is almost not available now, but which is available in current scenario. On that particular topic what we are discussing, on that nearly hundreds of operations it is explaining, means what way it is operating our internal organs. And one beauty of that one, it is explaining relating to the rhinoplasty. That's the one I'm discussing here. Let me share a small slide also. This is relating to the rhinoplasty. This particular thing, you can see a small page of the newspaper. It is the page of the Gentleman magazine published in London in 1794 October. Remember the date is in 1794 October. On that time it is published in London. It is explaining one type of a plastic surgery which happens in India. That is, this particular operation happened in the street of Pune. That's a beauty. The street of Pune, on those days, there is a small punishment. It is not the punishment we can tell. It is the is a revenge of the Sultan. His name is you mostly know. The name of one Sultan is there. If he caught the people from the enemy countries from the enemy, he will cut the nose or ear of the person. So in that way, he caught a cart means a bullet cart person who is transporting the goods from one place to another place, and he cut his nose. The Sultan cut his nose. So one person, one a small doctor, which is he is located at a small hospitals near the Pune street. He recovered means he made his nose in the earlier stage. This is the and the stories it's explaining the bottom of this particular thing. Let me tell you what way it is. I think it myself is visible, isn't it? Shoya? Myself is
Yes, yes.
visible. Yeah. So you can see he done with a banyan tree leaf. The the banyan tree leaf. The speciality of banyan tree leaf is this: one place in the top portion the width is higher, and the lower portion it is the width is not less. It is very small. So he placed the longer width portions in the downward direction and the smaller width portion on the top. The tail of the leaf is in the top, and the rest of the portion he kept it towards the down, and then he marked the as in the shape of the nose, just with a sketch, a pen or something. On that day what we did I don't know, but with a mark they marked that one, and then they cut the in the same way the as in the shape he cut in the leaf. Then he kept the same position, leave us in the same position, and the reverse, keep it in the reverse direction in the top portion, our this particular plate. And then he marked us in the shape of the leaf on our neck here in this particular skin. And then he started to remove this skin. The beauty is this one, and he not removed the lower skin, this portion. He removed the skin from this particular top and then keep it in the reverse direction towards the nose. So what happens here, the beauty is this one, he never removed the skin from here, means the whole skin is still live. It's a part of the body. And then he keep it in the reverse direction and made a stitch here. Inside he filled with a few herbals, and then a small straw type two things for keeping the openings and make it in a perfect shape. So here, and he completed that whole operation within few minutes. That's it. Even it will not extended more than an hour. Means he completed that whole operation the same way. And even this is explained in the Susruta Samhita, nearly 7,000 years in the book which is written in 7,000 BCE. So, in the beauty this one, and the British people, they find out these things in the year of 1794 and they published. And even that is copied to the rest of the world in the time of the Second World War. So the thing what I am sharing with you, we are not the people which is following the Westerners. We are the Indians having sufficient amount of knowledge, especially in the case of the healthcare, relating to the Ayurveda, Ayurveda and yoga. The people, our people are celebrate. We are enjoying our life in such a way that we are making our body fit, our mind fit, so that we can keep away from the diseases. That is the thought of our people, our Indians thinking process is on that way. And let me tell you one thing, in Ayurveda is not explaining about the human treatment. It is not explaining about how we are treating the human being. It is explaining about how to treat animals. Because with that animals, we are making a lot of, we are taking the service from them. And another one, how to treat plants. So the thing is like this, how means the human existence is not completed without considering the animals and plants. So our doctors consider how to treat animals and how to treat plants. That way we can enjoy our life. That is the beauty of the Ayurveda. That is the philosophy of our rishis, means our doctors. They thought that process, and their thinking process rises from in a higher level, means that is the beauty of our Ayurveda. So that's all. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Brahmachari Rubeshi with us. Rubeshi currently serves as lecturer at the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Amrita School of Engineering, Amritapuri. Passionate about India and culture, He has been teaching various subjects related to Indian culture and history for the past 12 years. He has also contributed many Indic journals. He is also a part of spreading Indic studies to Sadgamya in school. Welcome, Rupeshji.
Namaskar all. Thank you, Atira. Some 60 years back, during a digging work which was held in the Vatican courtyard, the workers hit on the jawbone of a large animal. Initially, they thought that they found the skeleton of some dinosaur, but it was not. Later, in 1997, an American historian named Silvio Bedini published his research article where he claims that the skeleton which they excavated was actually that of an elephant which journeyed from India to Europe in the 16th century. Yes, Hanno the elephant, which was actually a gift sent by the King of Cochin to the King of Portugal, Manuel I. And Hanno, traversing through the seas covering almost 10,000 kilometers, reached Europe. And the King Manuel presented it to the Pope Leo X. Everywhere this elephant went, people flocked in to see it. They like destroying the fields, they crashed the roofs, they pierced through the walls to get a glimpse of this animal. In fact, the original name was not Hanno. It is said to be Anno. And Hanno is the anglicized form of this word. Does it ring a bell? It should actually for Keralites. Hanno or Anno may not be the name of the elephant, since this was an elephant sent from Cochin. Perhaps it could be the garbled form or the mispronounced form of the Malayalam word for elephant, Ana, probably. Anyway, this elephant became the affectionate pet animal of the Pope, and after its death, the Pope even wrote an obituary to this animal. That will be like, I will read that. Under this great hill, I lie buried, mighty elephant, which the King Manuel, having conquered the Orient, sent as a captive to Pope Leo X. Now look at that claim, having conquered the Orient. Well, in fact, Manuel or the Portuguese has not even conquered 1/1000th of our nation. Well, this compulsive obsession about conquering India and bringing back prized possessions from India, mostly looted, was not a habit of very recent origin. Approximately 2500 years back from now, when India faced her first invader named Darius, whose empire stretched from Egypt to the borders of this land, India. Along with him came the first of the travelers, Skylax the sailor. He, after having a scouting trip down the Indus Valley, he returned with narrating with very strange and dubious tales about the Indians. He claimed that he met people who had just one eye at the center of their forehead, and they were named as monophthalmos. He claims that he met people with their ears so big that the ears can be used as sleeping bags. It can cover the physical body. They were named as enoticoidal, and so on, strange. And for the next 200 years, whosoever came to India, or at least whosoever claimed to have come to India, made such dubious claims. They said about this, blah, blah, many. And it continued. Just like a modern day scientist fancies about the existence of an alien creature at a distant planet, everybody in the West thought that India, they fancied about India as the end of the world, a land which is at the end of the world. And for them, conquering India and bringing prized possessions from India is and was a matter of pride. Then came Megasthenes during the time of Chandragupta Maurya and Chanakya. And he stayed at Pataliputra and has written a book named Indica, which gives very significant accounts about the traditions and customs of India. Most of it is unfortunately lost, but from what remains, we can infer he has written about the fertility of this land, the resources of this land, about the tigers, about the ascetics of this land, about how we received the foreigners, the kingship, many things. So, to conclude, starting with Skylax, Herodotus or Tatius or Megasthenes, and the Chinese travelers like Fahian or Huansang, or the Persian travelers like Ibn Battuta or Al-Biruni, and n number of travelers who visited India from the foreign countries, irrespective of all the different types of kingdoms they saw here, differences with regard to the complexion, with regard to the language, with regard to the food habits, with regard to the culture, with regard to the everything, with regard to the apparels, with regard to altogether so much differences they saw here, but irrespective of that, they found an underlying thread amongst all these kingdoms, and they saw India. And that's the reason why Megasthenes named his book Indica, which means India, and not as Maurya or Patna or Patliputra. Patna's original name was Pataliputra. So all these foreigners who visited India, they saw India. Now just think, British unified India, isn't it a very false and inappropriate claim to make? We were always a cultural republic from time immemorial. Jai Hind. Namaskar.
Thank you, Rubeshi, for enhancing our knowledge. Moving on, we have Sri Suraj Rajendran, who served IT field for more than 10 years and currently serves as Faculty Associate Amrita Darshanam. He is an ardent researcher in the field of Indic studies. He has also motivated many students to contribute to Indic studies. We welcome Suraj sir to talk about IT in India, present and future.
Thank you and welcome you all. And I start with a question. Uh, Guys, think about a situation where Google search engine. Google is planning to stop its search engine in India. If that is the case, that is going to happen from tomorrow. What will be our situation? Like many of you might be, I mean, majority of the internet users, you all might be using Google every day. But this is not a question very specific to India, but this question is there in the discussion platform for the last 2 to 3 weeks in Australia. Google is actually planning to shut its search engine in Australia. Why? Because Australian government is planning to implement a new rule where Australian government is saying or asking Google to pay for the news which they publish. Actually, these contents Google get it for free, and Australian government wants Google to pay for it. And the similar kind of rule is there in France as well. But Google is not trying to bully France, but Google is trying to bully Australia. Now, you all might have heard about the big tech censorship happened in America in the last 3 weeks to last from the December 1st to even till the last day when Donald Trump left his office. Like, let me just tell you about big tech. Big tech is I mean, more than 10 companies in which the major players are like Facebook, to Twitter, to Amazon, to Google, Parler is there. And what they actually is, I mean, they seems to be bigger than the most powerful person in the world. Like Donald Trump was then the president of US, most powerful person in the world, and big tech could able to bully Donald Trump. So what does it mean? I mean, how big is this big tech? And we as IT engineers or the people from Indian IT industry, what is the solution for these kinds of things? Have you ever thought about this kind of a censorship from internet? I mean, internet from big tech. And have you ever thought that, I mean, big tech is a kind of company could able to stop or even censor the most powerful person in the world? How big are they? I mean, they are the ones who manage the digital advertising market. I mean, their brand value to their revenue is unimaginable actually. We may be all thinking that Google is giving us everything for free, but let me just tell you this. I mean, what all things we get for free is not actually free. I mean, Google is earning billions of amount from what they are showing us. I mean, Google is one platform where we use, I mean, like, if you want to go out to some place which is not known to us, we use Google Map. If you want to search something, we'll use Google. I mean, like, if you want to know about a medicine, we'll search in Google. I mean, like, Google is like, without Google, I mean, living without Google is quite unimaginable in India nowadays. But think about the power of Google to Facebook to all these apps. If they have the capability to silence us or to censor us or even to bully a nation like India. And when I say this, it really happened in India as well. Like majority of you may be knowing about the WhatsApp's privacy policy, which they updated last month, which they said actually WhatsApp was just putting their gun on our head, saying like either you accept our privacy policy or else you leave. So what was our option like for Indians? What was our option? Our option was to search for another platform which suits WhatsApp. I mean, WhatsApp was is a platform which we again use daily. And the mother company, what was WhatsApp planning? WhatsApp was planning to sell our data to Facebook, its mother company. I mean, so our privacy doesn't matter for WhatsApp. I mean, who gave them this right to infringe into our privacy? I mean, do India have a rule to restrict that? I mean, how many engineers are India producing every year? I mean, the count is actually 1.5 million per year. But then information technology in India is not a small industry at all. I mean, like the IT sector contributes to 7.7 Indian GDP in till I mean this is the GDP rate in 2017, and the workforce in India in IT sector is nearly 4.36 million in 2020. But still, there's a problem. Like if big tech, what it did in America or what Google is doing in Australia or what this big tech is not doing in Europe, they're planning to do it in Indians. Why are they doing it? Why? Because even though we are able to generate many IT engineers, we are not able to come up with innovative ideas to block or even challenge the big tech companies. Like, if I ask you this question now, do you guys know any Indian WhatsApp alternatives? I mean, there is. I mean, like high sticker chat to Namaste Bharat to Indian Messenger app is there, but still, is it famous or is it good? I mean, is it user friendly or is it better than WhatsApp? We don't know. But on this Republic Day, since the present scenario forces us to think like this, my suggestion to all the engineers is this. Like if we want to make India a digital India, if we want to make India Atmanirbhar India, then the IT engineers should think about innovative ideas to help our nation. So that is with that note, I'd like to end. Thank you all. Namaskar.
Thank you, Suraj sir. Coming up, we have Sri Ganeshan, an explorer fervent towards Indian culture and studies, currently serving at Amrita Center for Wireless Network and Application to talk about Dharma as the cornerstone of Indic thought and knowledge. Welcome, Ganesh sir.
Yeah, Namaskar. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Namaskar, everyone. I hope it was a great day after watching all the Republic Day parade, etc. So, as my topic suggests, before I go to my topic, I would like to address a few questions. Maybe since I can't have an interactive session, I would be posing several questions myself and trying to come up with what is the most common answers to those questions. So let me start with this question. Like, if someone asked us what distinguishes Bharat from the rest of the world, what would be your answer? Some of the most common answers would be like unity in diversity, a melting point of cultures, the festivals, the number of languages spoken. Now, similarly, if someone were to ask what is Bharat's contribution to the world, now again, the most common answers would be yoga, Ayurveda, meditation, Sanskritam, philosophy, the number zero, the ancient science and maths, also art and architecture, classical music. Now, there could be many more things, but I'm just listing only those that come to my mind as of now. Now, apart from this, there is one more unique aspect to Bharat, something that is subconsciously a part of our daily lives, something which we share to some extent with all nature worshipping cultures around the world. Now, this is the concept of dharma. Now, other cultures might not call it by the same name, but a brief study of all such cultures reveals a universal underlying current of commonality. Now, this commonality is responsible for the orderliness in the world. Now, our scriptures mentioned something called as dharayati dharma. Now, that is something that one which bears and supports everything. So we consider the energy that is behind the universe and running it in a systematic way is believed to be dharma. Now, today, however, this concept of dharma is seeing an accelerated degradation. Now, many in today's generation do not find this concept to be relevant to their lives or to the times in which they live. Even Amma was asking, like, how do we make this concept relevant? So, my attempt is basically to try to answer this question. Dharma is no longer viewed as the foundation of our lives as such. We seem to give more importance to our desires. So as a result, there is more focus on our rights than our duties and responsibilities. Now, one thing is this has had irrevocable repercussions in our society. Now, let us see how, why, and what we can do about it. So, to drive my point, I would be basically taking a contemporary and a contextual example. Now, today we face several challenges: water shortage, global warming, pollution, deforestation. Now, I guess being students, most of y'all might have come across in your Live in Labs projects or whichever charity projects the college is involved in. Now, the result is we see that there is a lot of talk about sustainability in various circles. So in India also, we have been adopting frameworks devised by bodies like the United Nations. So we use the UN's Sustainable Development Goals to fuel many of our projects. Now, although these frameworks are helpful to a certain extent, it hasn't really yielded sustainable solutions to alleviate our local problems. Now, we often, we must have heard about this phrase that local problems need local solutions. There is no one size fits all solution to a problem. Now, one thing we have been successful in this regard has been jugaad. There is a word jugaad in Hindi. I guess most students must have heard about it. However, a big area where we are lacking is coming up with our own native indigenous frameworks or knowledge systems. Something that Suraj was also stressing about in his talk. So first, to do so, we have to tap into the indigenous knowledge systems accumulated over several generations. Now, if you have seen social media also, we often pride ourselves on having contributed so many things to the world. That should actually make us knowledge producers. But honestly, are we knowledge producers today? If we were to analyze, we have become more of knowledge consumers today. Before we do attempt to create our own knowledge systems or frameworks, we need to ask ourselves a few questions. First thing is, do we even value our traditions and culture? Are we often dismissive in calling them primitive or outdated? Also, assuming that nowadays everyone wants to explore and explore our traditions. So, assuming we are interested in exploring our indigenous knowledge systems, are we equipped enough? First of all, also, can a mere external change in our actions equip us to tap into the treasure chest left by our ancient people? Now, if we see the oft offered solution to solving problems of today is to use our resources with greater awareness. So everyone talks about awareness programs. So we see that we use technology that is recyclable, non-polluting, or green. So there is a big proliferation of using solar all across India. We say we have to plant more trees. We have to manage waste in a more organized way. Several awareness campaigns are also held in this regard. So most of our efforts towards solving problems only consider, a certain quantitative data. I'm not saying these are not required. They are definitely required. But I have a primary question. can awareness really be brought about by mere external actions? I understand that it is surely a first step, because actions often repeated tend to become habits. But is there an underlying change in the innermost realms of a person? Or is it a mere superficial change that masks the obvious thing? Have we ever wondered, how our ancient forefathers and ancients ever faced the same problems that we do today? If yes, if they did face, how did they tackle them? And if not, what did they do differently? I see very little effort, try to answer these questions especially. So my take is that none of our current measures basically address the elephant in the room as of today that we see today. I would call that as consumerism. Now, there is a mindless wave of consumerism that has swept the world. Let me give a simple example, something that we all must have seen in the past few months. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw how people fought over toilet paper in one part of the globe. Similarly, in India, we saw serpentine queues outside supermarkets and malls trying to, hoard things. So we most of us ended up buying almost 5 times than the usual quantity that we buy, and we virtually turned our houses into supermarkets. So basically, a time which was meant for self-isolation meant we could have become more frugal, basically. And instead, it turned out to become a time of bigger purchases. So what we saw as selfishness or self-preservation without any concern for the needs of others became the norm. Now, where there is very little thought that we direct towards addressing our lifestyle choices, we are not aware of its consequent impact on nature. We always talk about protecting nature, but then rarely do we realize that whatever we use or buy is linked to nature and the use of its resources. So the more one consumes, the more one shops for items that have come out of a factory. So the more it leads to use of natural resources and over exploitation of resources in some cases, and even pollution of those resources. So there has to be a balance somewhere. Now, what we observe is that we have failed to restore that balance. It's quite obvious from the pandemic that we are facing now. So what is the result? Nature has taken its own recourse. Now, this is where our eternal concept of dharma comes into play. Now, I would like to begin by quoting a few lines I had read in an article that has had a lasting impact on me. So the lines go as like dharma. There is no alternative to dharma. Spiritualism, self awareness, and mindfulness are all loose terms used to advance the concept of becoming more connected with dharma, which is basically the cornerstone of Indic thought. Now, unless the understanding of dharma becomes more widespread and leads to the adoption of simpler lifestyles, we are just trying to fight fire with a sword. Now, the last line, that we are just trying to fight fire with a sword actually, had an indelible impact on my mind. Now, if we just rewind back to ancient Bharat, nature and its beings were not seen as an external entity by people living here. It was a part of us, and thus protecting and nurturing it was as much a part of dharma as protecting ourselves. So, dharmic Indic traditions have helped sustain the Indian ecology for several millennia. Now, it does so by inspiring the natives to limit their needs, basically. So, Dharma teaches us that we as individuals are not the center of attraction, and it makes us put others before us. Now, by others, I refer to the universe, the world we live in, our nation, our community, our family, and then finally us. So, I'm mentioning them in the descending order of importance. Now, if we really valued our own knowledge systems today as they were thousands of years ago, our nature and its resources would not be in the dilapidated state they are in right now. And I personally believe that the understanding of dharma plays a very vital role in implementing these knowledge systems also. So we need to realize that Amma often says this actually in her talks and satsangs that we are all interconnected beings and we are not isolated islands. So there is much to be gained from the understanding of the interconnectedness of the universe. So that includes the we consider Earth as our mother, and also karma, which determines the consequences of our actions and therefore our future. So once we connect with our innermost being, we will come out as calm, compassionate, minimalist beings who are basically sensitives to the working of our nature. And it would be fitting to say that only a life led according to Dharma can really help achieve this. Now, I would just like to conclude by saying, a oft-repeated phrase. It is from the Manusmriti, which says that "Dharmo rakshati rakshitah," which basically means that protect Dharma, and Dharma will protect you. Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, sir, for that refreshing talk. Next, we have Sri Mukil, an engineering graduate from Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, currently serving in Amachi Labs doing research in the field of architecture and sustainability to talk about Indian temple architecture. Welcome, sir.
Share. I will share this slide now. So what I'm going to talk about is the Indian temple architecture. The Indian temple architecture is one of the interesting thing to others. Like foreign people come to India for seeing the architectural marvels and such kind of things. So is there anything else other than the physical attraction of the temple? So that's what I'm looking into. And for your understanding, or to introduce certain kind of temples, so I will go to certain temples like Ellora temple, now. And the basis of all these temple architecture and architectural marvel of India is on the basis of Vastu Shastra. So and the fundamentals of Vastu Shastra is five elements, elements. One is Prithvi, the other one is the Jal, the water, the other one is Agni, and the other one is Vayu and Agasha. And you know what? It is not just the Prithvi, the physical Prithvi that we are telling. There are emotions actually connected with such kind of water, vayu, fire, air, and all. So when you are introduced to a fire, it can actually enacts the anchor in you. So such kind of things were already there in the scriptures of Indian architecture. So before that, I'll go to certain temples and styles. So basically in India, there are two kind of architectural structures. One is Nagara architecture, and the other one is uh, Dravida architecture. So in the Nagara architecture, you can see the pictures, right? So if you take a top view of the Nagara architecture, you can find this kind of structures like petals coming out. So and if you want to add a more structures to the temple, you know what, it's a modular kind of temple, so it's not a constant thing. You can build on top of these structures, because that's the beauty of the temple. When it goes to the Dravida temple, mostly Dravida temple can be seen in the south part of India, and Nagara in the northern part of India. So, but it's not telling in any text that okay, Dravida in the southern part of India and Nagara in the. There are temples in Dravidian structure in northern India also, but it depends upon the places where how the temple should be constructed. So it's purely civil engineering. And this is Ellora temple. I don't know whether you know about the temple, but I will explain about the temple. This temple is carved out from a hill, and the hill name is Charanandri. The Charanandri hill is carved out, uh, and you know what? 200 tons of stones has been removed for making a structure like this. And in the Chanandri Hills, there are 100 and more than 100 caves. So all these caves are built on the 15th, 6th to like 15th century. See, so it's really hard, to make a plan. You know what? You have to dig down to make a structure. So usually we will see structures which is being made from the foundation to upward. But now, yeah, in Ellora case, it is being designed in a way that so they thought in a way that, and they didn't compromise on any architectural beauty or any architectural thing which is essential for a temple. They didn't compromise on anything, but they did it. So this is one of the highest attraction of the Indian temple. The other one, this is Brihadeshwar temple. In the Brihadeshwar temple, there is the circled part of the temple is called Shikara. The and that part has a 80-ton weight, and the temple is being constructed by interlocking bricks, interlocking stone bricks. So what they done, the people over there is telling that it's been done by 1,000 elephants and all. So we don't know how they made such kind of brilliant architectural marvels in the part of constructions and architectural things. So this is Konark temple. In the temple, I know you all may be knowing about the Konark temple. It's a Jain stone chariot. See, it has 24, sun chakras, the wheels, and these wheels actually show the timing by understanding the movement of sun. So the sun is worshipping in Konark temple, and the word itself says like that. Kona it means it is the ankle or ankle shape, and arcan, which is called the sun. So this is one of the celebrated, maybe celebrated temple in India, among others. So this temple, this is Mahabaleshwar temple, and near to Mahabaleshwar temple, Mahabaleshwar temple is famous for Panchaganga. So 5 rivers will come and actually join in there. So that's the specialty of that temple. This is Krishnabai temple, which is actually 1 kilometer from the this Mahabaleshwar temple. So when you walk like 1 kilometer into a forest and you can see this temple, this is Krishnabai temple. The beauty of the temple is that you can see a sprout where it is cow is replicated in the sprout. In every temple, you may see the sprout which is having the water coming off. The Vyali Muga is there. Biomimicry, like we will mimic all the elephants, animals, snakes, etc. To build a sprout like this. So here, from the mouth of the cow, this part the water is coming. So this part is the origin of Krishna river. The river Krishna is originated from here. Yes, it may be because of the the gravitational physics things, but people have done it. And Chhatrapati Shivaji made this whole structure like this. So this is one of the temple that you should go and watch. This is when I was learning about the temple and things, the construction, the built environment. So I came to know that it is not just the architectural marvelous. It's not the physics or the material they are used in the temple. It's not just that. Beyond that, there are more things. This is one parameter that I have noticed. And when I searched on certain books of Vastu Shastra, I found that okay, in one of the texts which is got from Orisa, mentioned that Manushyanam Vrithir Murveidi. That means in human beings, it is the mental modification which is more important. So a built environment can actually influence a person's mind. It is already been there in our scriptures. And now recently in 2000 and afterwards, the people are being telling that okay, the built environment can be create mental and choice architecture. They will call it as choice architecture. So the built environment can actually influence the behavior of a particular person. So this is an example from Vastu Sutra Upanishad, and in Samarangana Sutradhara, one of the basic text of Vastu Shastra, we can find such kind of a chapter which is dedicated for mind and architecture. So this is a common. This is one of the common, structure you will see in temples, and you can connect with the body. It is called the five koshas, which are Annamaya kosha, which is dedicated to the food, the physical part of the body, which is the Sthula Sharira, and Annamaya kosha and Pranamaya kosha is the Sthula Sharira, and the next is Manomaya kosha, and after that it is the Vijnanamaya kosha. So inside that there is the Anandamaya kosha. So these are the structures of temple. So in the text itself, as I have said, this is the kind of, from a formless thought will generate, and according to your mind actually it will deliver it as an action. So this is the basic principle that I have noticed in such kind of temple. So in when you are making certain things, if you're making a temple or architecture or a product, in one of the sage, he is telling that one of the sage, Maya, actually he built the Maya Sabha in Mahabharata, and in the Sabha Parva, the first part of the Sabha Parva, and he is telling to the people that Bhogadyam, Sugadarshanam, and Ramyam. So if you want to make certain things, I mean, a product or a architecture, Bhogadyam, you should consider the fact that it is consider its utility. Second, its aesthetics, and third, its delight. So, that means it's spiritual satisfaction. So these three elements are the core elements that we can see in architectural buildings. So it's not just a building to live or dwell. It's about the whole uh, mind and behavior, etc., of a person. And every time we should remember that if our sage is doing, sages or rishis are making something, it's not just for our physical physical needs, it's for to reach the ultimate, maybe. Yes. So that's it. No issue.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, we have Sri Akshay Mohan, a film graduate currently doing his PG in anthropology. He's a person with great interest in Indian literature, culture, and history. I welcome him to talk about our Indian cinema.
Hello, Udeshwari Namaha. Thank you, Ayudhamrudabri, for this wonderful opportunity to talk about Indian cinema. And thank you, Adra. Roman Polanski said, cinema should make you you are sitting in a theater. Before I begin on Indian cinema, I want to tell you a sad truth that as per the record, only 10% of Indian silent films are surviving right now. After the first screening of cinema in Paris, the Lumet brothers sent 6 motion pictures to Bombay, their second home. On 7th July 1896, their fellow Maurice Testier screened the films. One of the spectators was H.S. Bhattvedkar. He was amazed by cinema's magic and ordered a camera from UK and shot the first Indian film, The Wrestler, in 1899. Following, the history of Indian cinema began. Many years later, after the screening of Alice G. Blanche's film, The Birth, the Life, and the Death of Christ, Dada Sahib Phalke, the father of Indian cinema, said, "Why the life of Christ was rolling before my eyes, I was mentally visualizing Sri Krishna's Vrindavan and Sri Ramachandra's Ayodhya. Could we, the sons of India, ever be able to see Indian images on the screen?" In 1912, Palke shot a peat plant time lapse. Later, in 1913, officially, the first feature film in Indian cinema, Raja Harishchandra, was released. Later on, Balagangadhar Tilak supported Dada Sahib Phalke to make films. Indian cinema's narrative evolved from Mahabharata and Ramayana. And the structure, like the story within a story, parallel narrative, cyclical narrative, and so forth. People who don't know to read Idihasas, through these images, they begin to comprehend. And one particular aspect that makes Indian cinema so distinct is the songs and dance. That too from our own ancient narratives. From Bhatwedkar, the storm begins. Filmmakers like Satyajit Ray, Bimal Roy, Balu Mahendra, Kumar Sahini, Padmarajan, Girish Kasravali, contemporaries like Chaitanya Tamanne, Jujas Pelisheri, Amit Datta, and you can name it. The largest film production is in India, and per around 2,000 films released in more than 20 languages. You can think 20 languages. So films like avant-garde films, parallel cinema, documentary films, commercial films, etc. One can see the diversity in cinema, Indian cinema. And in foreign universities, they taught Indian films like Apu Trilogy, Charlata, Elipatayam, Piravi, etc. I can list you out. Shajian Karun's Malayalam film, Swaham, the only Indian film that competed for Palme d'Or in 1994 with Tarantino's Pulp Fiction at Cannes Film Festival. But Pulp Fiction won it. The reason why I mentioned this is like we all know Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, right? And Swaham is the last Indian film that entered the competition. Since then, no Indian film has competed for Palme d'Or. Tarantino once said the animated scene in Kill Bill was inspired by the animated scene in Kamala Hassan's Alavandan film. Akira Kurosawa once said about Satyajit Ray, "I feel that he's a giant of the movie industry. Not to have seen the cinema of Ray means existing in the world without seeing the sun or the moon." I can never forget the excitement in my mind after seeing Pakir Panchali. Not only Kurosawa, many filmmaking legends like Martin Scorsese, Wes Anderson, Stanley Kubrick influenced Ray's images. And I will tell you a fact. Ray wrote a script, Satyajit Ray wrote a script based on his own 1962 short story, Bankur Bar Bandhu. The story was about an alien and a young boy, and there were many sketches. He pitched to Hollywood studios. One of the lead actor was Marlon Brando. Sadly, the film didn't see the light due to many complications, and Ray dropped the film completely. Later on, Steven Spielberg's film E.T. and Close Encounter of the Third Kind were released. And these two films had many similarities to Ray's script. Later, Ray said, "It would not have been possible without my script of The Alien." It was the title, being available through American cinema in mimeograph copies. But Spielberg denied it. And Cameron once said, Avatar was influenced from Sanatana Dharma, and like you can see the soundtrack of Matrix also. So as I conclude, Indian cinema always has a distinct film culture in world cinema, and every filmgoer should explore the uniqueness of Indian cinema, like excavating an archaeological site. On my share, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we have two young budding teens from Ayut Amritapuri. I welcome Sri Navjit S from Essex BSc Microbiology to talk about military power of India and its effects on foreign diplomacy.
Namaskar everyone, and a happy Republic Day to one and all. So I would like to share my views about the military power of India and its effect on foreign diplomacy. So when we speak of military power, or basically when we think about a concept called a country, what do we think first in mind? The question arises: how does a country become powerful? What are the criteria? What are the factors that makes a country powerful? So to that, I'll say that it's the leadership, the economic influence, the international alliance, the military power, and the political influence which decides the power or the ranking of a nation in the world. So economic influence means it means like how much bigger a country is on the basis of the economy, on the basis of nominal GDP. The international alliances like peace treaty between two nations, or it could be like trade deal between two nations, like when we say uh, two friendly nations come to a deal where they cut down the taxes levied upon the imports and export of the goods between two countries. So when we speak of Indian military, we know it is divided into army, navy, and air force. I'm very proud to say that India is the second largest military power in the world in the terms of army, in the terms of number of active personnel. It is 1.4 million. The first one being China, the second is India. So, and it is also seen that India uh, is the third largest country. I mean, in the basis of the defense budget, how much we spend on the defense research and in development of the technology, we are the third highest in it. So, when we speak of military, we think of missiles. We think of all those things: missiles, rockets, and then frigates, uh, all those things. So the thing that comes to our mind is, why do we need all this? Why do we need war planes, warships, frigates, or fighter jets, etc.? Why do we need those? So I'll give you an example where our late APJ Abdul Kalam, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, he is known as the missile man of India. And his contribution is that in the early 1980s, 1990s, until somewhat 2000, that time range, he was heading the group or a program called IGMDP, meaning Integrated Guided Missile Development Program. And it was through his leadership in that stream that several missiles like Agni, Trishul, Prithvi, Akash, and Nag came up. When we speak of recent times, the missile that comes to mind is a supersonic missile. I hope you would have heard about it. It's the world's first supersonic missile, which is created by India and Russia in collaboration. I mean DRDO, the Defense Research Organization of India, and the Russian organization. So why do we need all these things? That's the question that comes to everyone's mind. So we think like it promotes the hostility between two countries, but no, it is also used in maintaining peace and stability. Because when the power of one country increases over the other will try to raise its armament production in order to balance or in order to bring a balance in it. And I would also like to speak about our army being it's diverse. Even when we speak of India as a nation with diversity in the culture, when we speak of it, similarly, our armed troops, our army, our Jawans, they are the only soldiers, I must say, who have faced all the diverse terrains. Because India is gifted with such a terrain. Like in the north, we have the Ladakh region, the hilly, snowy mountains. In the west, we have the Rajasthan, the dry desert, and we have all sort of things: the forest, the mountains, the plain areas. So we have been gifted by all these terrains, and we have the experience one through it. So how does the strength of an army determine the foreign diplomacy? I'll give an example. When recently we have seen how after the pandemic came up and all the world was busy in lockdowns and all, there was one country who was trying to expand its military power. It's trying to expand its and even it struck against India, the only one. They have been turning hostile towards all the neighboring nations. So in this situation, the Quad group, which was earlier formed in early 2000 and early 2010s, 8, which was just formed for the namesake. There wasn't any much of the meetings there. And the Quad group, it actually is a group of 4 nations: India, USA, Japan, and Australia. So the present situation forced all these 4 nations to keep meetings, and they came up together to bring a possible solution for this Chinese aggression. That is one main thing that I have seen. The second one is the international relationship between the India and the Middle Eastern countries. I would like to speak about, I would like to point about an organization called Organization of Islamic Countries. It's called OIC, where we have all the Islamic countries together for the welfare of the Islam and all sort of things. So even in that organization, there is a divide, meaning to say that India being not being a part of any culturally related to or it is, we can say India is a secular country, but even in spite of that, the Saudi Arabia and all most of the Middle Eastern nations are supportive of India in taking part in the OIC meetings and all when compared to the Pakistan. That is the another relation I must say where India has come up. And speaking, we know that COVID crisis is has brought a lag or an economic slowdown everywhere. So dealing not only in the official market like the normal commodities, we have also seen how the government has imposed an Atmanirbhar Bharat in the defense sector also. So I think that is a good initiative because it is only in such instances where we bring out the innovation and the technologies within ourselves for the better of the future. So India is trying to put itself into an Atmanirbhar situation, where means a self-reliant country where it will produce the it will produce the defense products and for its own benefit and for the benefit of others. Till now, we have been dependent upon Russia, US, and other countries, France, for the fighter jets, frigates, or submarines, or whatever be. But now India is striving towards being self-reliant in this sector, so that what all money we spend on the defense sector, it comes back to our country only. In this way, we can pull up the economy and make it a more superpower. Global Firepower Index of 2021 has ranked India as fourth powerful nation and in terms of the defense sector. So what the criteria they all look is how much is the research done, how much is the military power, the active military personnel, what all equipments and technologies do they have. So India is in a sustainable position. That is, India is a powerful nation right now. It is ranked the fourth powerful nation among 195 to 198 other countries globally. So in spite of all this, the irony is here that we, India, or the whole world is seeing India as a growing superpower. We have several challenges to face, and we will overcome in future. I'm definitely sure of it. But we haven't received a permanent seat in the UNSC, United Nations Security. We have the 5 big nations like the US, UK, France, China, and Russia. These countries hold the permanent seat in UN Security Council, and they are the ones who decide on what are the things that needs to be implemented, and they have the highest and such a way that even one of them they can use the veto power in pulling down the any resolution that is needed to be passed. So for time being, India is selected as one among the 14 non-permanent UNSC member, and India has been heading for the anti-terrorism or counter-terrorism initiative. So I'm very sure that India will show a way and will show to the world that how it is striving to be a much more superpower, not only in its what to say in its decisions, but also it will show a much more aggressive foreign policy. Till now, India has been silent on all the foreign matters, but for time being, we have been the head of the non-permanent UNSC members, and we are trying to come up with that. So, and I would like to conclude speaking about how India tries to do it. It is that India needs to uphold the values like Loka Samstha Sugino Bhavantu and Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, as we know that the world is a family, is a one family. So India will uphold these moral values and it will try to show its leadership in bringing up itself and the world together. Thank you.
Thank you, Navjit. Next, we have Kumari Tanmay N from Essex Tripoli to talk about divinity and open book. Welcome, Tanmay.
Namaskar everyone. Now I'm going to talk about divinity in India. Divinity, such an enduring concept. For Indians, divinity isn't a confined concept but an open book. We grew up learning about beauty of it through our grandparents' tales and our teachers' lessons. Now through Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava. This sloka takes us back to our early morning prayers in our school assembly, where we all used to bow our heads and chant them. Honor your mother as God, honor your father as God, honor your teachers as God, and honor your guest as God. This is what every Indian kid grew up listening to, that God really exists and He is always with us in the form of elders. We are taught to nurture and nourish everyone and everything that's a part of our life. The world recently came into the light about the importance of conserving our nature. But in many parts of India, we have been worshipping trees and conserving our natural beauties. We have been taught that there is God in everything. God says God dwells deep within our hearts as innocence and pure love. The culture we own is so diverse, yet the fabric that unites everything is the idea of equality, dignity, and respect for life. We, as a country, possess a rich history of centuries through which we displayed unity, courage, knowledge, and values. However, the core conscience of reverence towards every living being has never been threatened. Every Republic Day, we not only remind ourselves of the virtues of the Constitution, but we also celebrate the uniqueness, the diversity, and the virtues that bind us in harmony. Let me end my talk with a saying that always been close to my heart and is told by our beloved Amma. Let us grow and fun unfold as one family with love. Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Thank you, Tanmay. Like a kaleidoscope reflects an endless variety of patterns of colorful images from its loose bits, our speakers today reflected the rich and vibrant heritage of India through their words. I thank each and everyone for portraying the vividness of India. Now, to formally deliver the world's thanks, I welcome Krishna from SOCAC.
Om Amriteshwarya Nama. Today, let us remember the golden heritage of our country and feel proud to be a part of India. Yes, we are all proud Indians. Wishing you all a very happy Republic Day. As Adira said, today's speakers portrayed vividness of India like a kaleidoscope reflecting its colorful images. I take this opportunity to thank all speakers for sharing their wisdom beautifully with us on today's event, an Indian kaleidoscope. First of all, I thank Sri Sumesh KP for giving us an excellent coverage on ancient India's contribution in healthcare. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Brahmachari Rupesh for creating a picture of India from foreigners' perspective. I am grateful to Sri Suraj Rajendran for his analysis about IT sector in India. I would like to thank Sri Ganesh Narayanan for sharing his views on Indic knowledge and importance Dharma in our lives. I express my sincere thanks to Sri Mukil M in providing an add-on insight on Indian architecture. I also extend heartful of appreciation for Sri Akshay Mohan for enlightening us about Indian cinema. I thank Sri Navjit S for sharing how powerful is Indian military in global platform and its importance in foreign diplomacy. I appreciate Kumari Tanmay N for elaborating her views on divinity in all beings. Last but not the least, I thank Almighty for his blessings, members of Ayuth Amritapuri, each and everyone who took off their time in their busy day for making this event a success and being with us this evening. Thank you all. Namah Shivaya. Now I invite Harinandana for Shanti Mantra.
लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम्। नमः शिवाय।